Man United 1, West Ham 1. Another opportunity missed. I think this is now the fourth or fifth opportunity that we have missed this season. There was an opportunity against Nottingham Forest to go in a good position. We won that game. We started that game very well. We scored the first goal, only to draw that game. We scored the first goal against Tottenham Hotspurs, only to draw that game. We had Everton that we lost that game. And this is another game yet again where you find that the games that you expect Man United to win, they are not winning. And the games that you don't expect them to win, like Crystal Palace, they win that game. There is a serious case of this team not taking advantage of situations, because if you look clearly at that game, they went ahead and then the momentum changed. You would expect once you go ahead, you press on and get a second goal at that goal, you even put more pressure. So this is another game that leaves us feeling dejected, leaves us feeling disappointed, because if you look at even the full-time boos that you could hear from the stadium, it's because every single fan knows that this was an opportunity that was missed. In terms of the players, how they played, Lamens had a 6 over 10. There's nothing he could have done about the goal. Mazrui was on the post and he did his job, which was removing that ball that was going in. He cleared that ball, but it went straight to a West Ham player. You wonder what was a West Ham player doing unmarked in the box. Heaven had a 6 over 10. He started very well, but it seemed he was too eager to please. That tackle that he made, it was needless. It was at a point in the pitch where he didn't need to make a tackle, and that got a yellow card. So that forced the manager to change him at halftime, not because of anything that wrong that he had done, but because he was on a yellow card. You can't risk going into the second half, possibly playing to 40, 30, even 15 minutes with 10 men. So because he had a yellow card, he had to remove him and bring in Yoro, which was a good decision. Mazrui had a show had a 7 over 10. He had an overall very good game. I think everything that he did, you could tell he was doing it right. And there's now when the goal was conceded, it was conceded because of a case of a player marked that I don't think he was the one supposed to be. He was marking on the close post. Mazrui had a 7 over 10. That clearance could have saved at the point if only every player, a West Ham player in their corner was marked. You know what the sad thing about thing is it's a corner. You're already 1-0 up. You don't even need to be in positions where you need to go striking. You just need to defend. You defend your goal well, and there's nothing that is scored from it. I think if you look at that goal the way it went in, Ahmad was coming back in instead of defending his goal. He was already looking, thinking that the goalkeeper will catch it and throw it to him. But you have to realize this thing: you don't assume anything when you're defending corners. You are already on a lead. Most teams have been scoring through set pieces. If you look at Tottenham, at West Ham, they have most of their players who are taller than ours. So they are going to use the advantages of set pieces. That was what they were looking for all through the game. They were looking for those long throw-ins. They were looking for those corners. And those are the only dangerous areas where you find a team like West Ham will take advantage. And they took advantage because not everyone was in position. One of their players was open on the box and was able to put in the rebound and score the goal. In terms of Ahmad had a 7 over 10. He played so well in this game, and I think it's not for that case where we scored a goal in an area where he was supposed to be marking. I think I gave him an 8 over 10. He was our constant threat all through, but I think I gave him a 7 over 10 because he did not do his defensive duties well enough. If it's in a corner and you are a right wing back, you are not supposed to be coming into goal when it's an Western corner. He was supposed to be close to Mazrui. Mazrui makes that clearance and he's in a position to block it when there's another player who wants to score the goal. So that gives him a 7 over 10 for me. Casemiro had a 7 over 10. In fact, he had a very good game. All the blocks that he made in this game were too many. You find that he couldn't finish the game, and that's a problem. When we make subs, our level always goes down. You want Casemiro to finish the game, but he doesn't have the legs anymore, and that's one of the reasons why he needs to be released in the summer, because you can't have a midfielder who we are depending on, and every time we are depending on the midfielder, he's in a situation where you think that it's going to be substituted and it's going to affect our game. So it was a case of playing a very good game, but we ended up not with the 3 points, so he can't get any higher than that. Bruno had a 6 over 10. He actually had a very good first half, but in the second half, the chances that came his way, he should have done better with them. And we don't get that many chances, and we have had such a problem that we are not taking the chances that are coming away, and that's why you can't give anyone that much point, especially if you had an attacking role and you didn't take the chances that were supposed to come your way. Dalo had a very good game. As he was one of the best games, especially after Crystal Palace. He seems to have his confidence. I don't even know why he was taken off when we were leading. He had the confidence of that goal. There was nothing he was doing wrong. There was no necessity to put in a defensive substitution while West Ham were not even attacking us that much. The Lord should have continued in that game, and I think one of those decisions was wrong to put in Dogu, who never really had anything positive after coming on. So Dalot should have continued. He had a 7 over 10 in this game. Mbeumo, this is one of his quiet games. He didn't do enough in this game, including one of the chances that he got and he decided to look for a penalty. I think he should have shot that game and probably win that game. We need to stop trying to get into a situation where we are trying to get advantages of penalties or anything. If there's a position to shoot, then he should have shot, because we couldn't get a penalty because uh, the West Ham player removed his leg just on time and it looked like a dive. So this is the second or third game where he's not having as good a game as you'd expect him to. He didn't have that much of a good game against Everton, also against Crystal Palace, also against West Ham. So he needs to do better. He does well with Ahmad in terms of the way they play link ups, and that's good. But we need an end product, and they didn't do well enough in terms of the end product. Cunha had a 5 over 10. This was also another game where he didn't impose himself on the game that much. He came into this game, and you'd expect playing a team like West Ham, he's imposing himself, and he didn't do the basics right. So he has a 5 over 10 in this. Zaxi, you might say he had a good game, but I think one of the main things that he was doing is the link up play. He was the dropping in, linking up with the players, and while that is good, we missed an out and out striker. I think he could have been getting back in, or probably Cunha and Mbeumo using him to score the goals after he puts the link up play. But unfortunately, he plays too much with his back on goal. And when you play most of your game with back on goal, it's a disadvantage to the team. All those crosses that were coming in, he was never looking that he would end on the end of any one of them. He's so stationary on the box. Whenever a cross is coming in, he's usually not making any movement. He's not trying to go to the near post or the far post. He's just standing there, and it was an easy job to mark him with Todibo and Mavropanos. And this is a case where we lose him, we lose the impact of the player, because every time a cross is coming in, he's always stationary. That makes it easier for the defenders to mark him. So I give him a 5 over 10. Euro played well when he came on. He had a 6 over 10. He did most of the things that he was supposed to do well. Dogu came on. He didn't impact the game. I think the game went down after coming on, so he has a 5 over 10. Mount is also one of his poorest games. After coming on, he kept being bumped out of the ball. He wasn't impacting the game. You need substitution to come on and be a danger, be a threat. Try to put the defenders of West Ham in trouble so that they couldn't be higher than they should have been. But after coming on, this was not one of his best cameos. Ugarte, the less said about Ugarte, the better. He came on and only was doing all the sideways passes, nothing to impact the game. And while he came as a substitution that was able to help us keep the lead, you'd expect a Man United player to do much more than every time he gets the ball, he's either backwards or a sideways pass. That was not good enough from Ugarte, and it's a case where every time we sub on Ugarte for other players to play in midfield, we lose control of the game, even against a team that is 18th on the league. So this wasn't good enough for Ugarte, and he gets a 4 over 10. In terms of the gameplay, we had most of the possession. We had 65% of possession. We took total shots 17. But the biggest statistics is on the shots on target. We only had 4 shots on target to their 3. So most of those shots that we were taking were not even threatening. They were shots that were almost not going to trouble the keeper, because if you have 13 shots that are off target out of your 17 shots, that's not good enough for a team like Man United. And this is the key statistics where we didn't win the game, because we weren't hitting the target more, and we weren't losing, keeping our cool in the best situations. Most times when you're supposed to be keeping your cool, we rush the shot or try to shoot from an impossible angle, and that's why we have most of the shots, but the number of shots on target are so few. We almost had the same shots on target with West Ham, which explains why the game ended up in a draw. In terms of the attacking, we had 10 chances created. West Ham created 6. Shots on target, just like I said, it's 4-3. The shots of target were 5-3. So most of block shots, West Ham had most of the people behind the ball, and they blocked most of the shots that we put in. The touches in the opposition box, we had 42 touches to 28 of their touches. We should have done more with the touches that we had in the box. Cunha had a very good chance that he could have utilized well. Bruno had a few chances inside the box, tried to force it. Shaw had also a good chance inside the box. So these chances that are coming our way that we are not using are costing us, and that's the reason why we are not winning the games we should are supposed to be winning. In terms of the crosses, this was one of the things that was making me angry. We had 31 crosses, but they were to no one in particular. And this is where Ruben Amorim, I agree with him on this one aspect, that we didn't have the characteristics in the box for those crosses. So what do you do when you don't have a player that like Zaxi? He might be tall, but he's not commanding with the headers. You might have a player like Cunha, he's not ahead of the ball. You have a player like Melmo, he's not at the head of the ball. The other side, when you have Ahmad, and in as much as Ahmad scores some goals, he's not going to be dominating the West Ham defenders. You have Dalot, who doesn't come in time to for the header. So all those crosses was just a waste of time. 31 different crosses and none of them looked like going to a person who could have headed the goal in. That was a waste of time. In terms of the rest of the statistics defensively, West Ham won 63 duels, and this was one of the most frustrating part, because the second balls we lost the first balls because most of the duels they won, but we weren't there for the second balls. So when a team wins most of the duels, what you want to see is your team going in for the second balls. They won 63 duels, and the aerial duels that they won were 24. They made 20 interceptions, they made 99 clearances. So it was a very good defensive performance from West Ham, but we needed to show more now. We needed to show more football IQ, try to move the ball quicker, try to get them out of position. Zaxi was in some cases very stationary. He needs to move more, because you need to take the defenders off their comfortable spot. But if you are making most, that's why I'm saying when you are playing your back to goal, and all of the time when you get a ball you take it back, and then they won't need to get out of position. They don't need to feel any uncomfortable with the play. They know they can see all the plays ahead of them, and as long as the ball is ahead of them, then there's nothing that they'll feel that they can't handle. So we needed somebody who would be able to take them into zones where they're not comfortable, and the other players would have come on and scored the goals. Nevertheless, we had the goal that we had scored, and once we go ahead, you need to be able to take your chances. So in terms of the defensive play, West Ham played very well defensively. Wan-Bissaka was one of the players that had a very good game. He had a point to prove, and he did prove it, because defensively, we all know that Wan-Bissaka was always one of the best defensively, but we needed to be attacking more. And in this game, he suits West Ham, because West Ham defend most of their games, and he's shining at West Ham. In terms of the other points of the game, these were the crosses, the yellow cards. Casemiro and Dogu, once again, they survive another week without yellow cards, which is good because they'll be available for the West Ham game. For the Wolves game on Monday. Unfortunately, if they get yellow cards, then they miss one of the most important games against either Bournemouth, Newcastle, and all the other teams that are coming, which are tougher. So I would have preferred if probably they got yellow cards only to miss the Wolves game, because we don't have a replacement for Casemiro. Anytime Casemiro is not playing, we are such a poor team. We look like a relegation team. And this happens every time that Casemiro goes off, we are dominated. And if we are going to be dominated in one of these games against Newcastle and Aston Villa, then that will not be good for the team. So this is one of the cases. I think for once we have to give a man of the match a performance to the opponents. In terms of this channel, we always give one of the players, the Man United players, the man of the match. But this case, we just have to give it to Wan-Bissaka. If you look at this first half performance, he had the first in terms of the touches, in terms of the chances created, in terms of the final third passes, in terms of the duels won, and in terms of the tackle. So everything that he did, he was fast all over the pitch. And in fact, if not for Wan-Bissaka, we could have had 1 or 2 goals in that first half. He made a very good clearance of the line for from Zaxi. The Zaxi goal could have been a Zaxi goal, but he made a clearance of the line. He made a very good block for Cunha. There was several blocks that he made that could have made a difference, and that's why it angers someone to think about those chances that we are not utilizing. We are not utilizing many of the chances that are coming away, and that is not good because there needs to be better. Something needs to be done to be able to control those chances that come our way, and we weren't doing them well enough. Obviously, Wan Bissaka had a good game. He's one of the. There's a reason why we call him Spider Wan Bissaka, because he has this way of tackling or slide tackling that have not seen with any other player. He almost always wins his slide tackles. Okay, today he caught a piece of mount and got a yellow card. He should have had a second yellow card. The referee was poor in this game. One of the tackles that he had on Dogu while I was a yellow card was supposed to be a second yellow card, but that's not a fault of his own. The referee couldn't do his job. But overall, Wan Bissaka had one of the best games I've seen from an opposition player, and he deserves to get out of this game with a point. Unfortunately, it's against his former team, Man United. So overall, this was another disappointing game, a game that we should expected to win, and then we go level of points with Chelsea. But once again, we are in eighth, which shows it's around the point we are supposed to be in. We are not taking advantages of the chances that come our way. We have had 3 4 games where we should have taken advantage, but this team once again, no, they are not killing off teams. And when you are not killing off teams, once you go ahead, you give them a chance to come back in the game. You leave the game at 1-0, they are going to have a set piece, and if they execute it well, then they win. They get a point from the game. And if you look at some of the scenes, there was celebration in the West Ham dressing room, because a point is very vital for them. It might not take them out of the relegation positions, but at least it's an extra point. And if they win a game, then they can go above the 17th place leads. So they keep on picking points, keep on staying within the teams that are around them, and maybe 2 wins, and they can come out of the relegation zone. So this was another case where we lost points in a game that we should have won. You go into the Wolves game, a game that we should be confident about, but you are now worried that we might give them their first win of the season, and this is not good because it shows there's a lack of trust in this team. The fans are getting exasperated. They don't understand what is happening with this team, but we just have to wait until the next game. Hopefully, in time, Sesko will be back. There's also the fear once we go to AFCON. Ahmad had a very good game, and losing a player like Ahmad and Belmo is going to be a very big problem. As you looked at that bench, we didn't have many attacking substitution. We only had Lacey. Not that Lacey could have added to the intensity. One of the questions Ruben Amorim was asked was why he made those substitution. I think the reference was he made 3 defensive substitution, but then he asked who could have attacked better, because that is an indication nobody could attack better than Belmo. He has the pace, he has the intensity, and Lacey couldn't have been expected to be better than Belmo in his first game. So we need Zesco back, we need more attacking options. So let's see what happens in the next games. Waiting for Monday. Luckily, we don't have to wait that long until Monday, and if we can win that game, then we get back to trying to get back into that fifth spot. Is proving to be a very difficult spot to get in, and this team needs to keep on working on their control because they are so poor once they go ahead. So see you in the next one. You comment, like, share your views about this, and let's continue growing this community. Okay.